Hello and welcome to our second rules video for Broadside Empires of Steel. Today we will be covering shooting. As you might imagine, shooting is somewhat more complex than movement, and so we've set up an example here using HMS Canada and SMS Thuringen, if I've got the pronunciation correct on that. You can see here Canada's ship card, and she has two batteries, her primary battery and her secondary battery. Before shooting, you have to declare the targets of all batteries that are going to fire. In this particular example, we're going to fire her primary batteries at Thuringen, but we're not going to fire her secondary batteries at all. The first number we want to pay attention to is the 15 here, which is the range of Canada's primary battery. This is not the maximum range of her guns, but it is rather important, as you'll see in a moment. We measure the range between the center of Canada and the center of her target, and we find that it is less than 15 inches. Now we work out the target number for our ranging in attempt with Canada's guns. The size of our target is L for large, which means we start with a 7+ as our target. However, there are modifiers. The first modifier comes from the speed of the target vessel, which is 5. That means that our 7+ has now become an 8+. The next modifier comes from the fact that Canada already has one aiming token on the target. This gives us a -1 to the roll. Our 8+ is now back to a 7+. Finally, we apply a modifier for the range to the target. What modifier we use depends on the range of the guns as well as the range to the target. In this case, Canada's guns find a target at 13 inches or so range to be really quite close, giving a -2 to the roll. Our 7+ has now become a 5+. Finally, we roll our dice and see if we get the correct result. In this case, yes, we have got a good enough result to range in on the target, which means we proceed to the next step. If we had not reached our 5+ goal, then we would stop here and move on to the next battery, because the primary battery has failed to hit anything. We did not fail, however, and our shells are falling around the target. To find out if any actually score direct hits on the target, we move on to the next part of shooting, which is evasion. The first thing we do for evasion is to determine what arc Canada was shooting out of. In this case, it's fairly obvious she was shooting out of her side arc. Taking a look at Canada's ship card, we can see that her primary battery is rated at 10 on the side, which means we will need to roll 10 dice. A quick look at Thuringen's card tells us that her evasion value is 6+, which gives us the target number needed. So we will roll 10 dice and see if we get any 6+. Thuringen's player rolls the dice and scores quite a few evasions, which are now removed from the dice pool before we move on to seeing how much damage was done. Nice rolling. To determine how much damage was done by the 6 remaining hits, we first look at Canada's card to find out her firepower. It is 2+. Next, we take a look at Thuringen to find out her protection value, which in this case is 1. Looking both of these values up on the damage table, we can see that we need a 3+ in order to damage Thuringen. We roll 6 dice for the 6 hits that we made, and we remove anything that didn't quite make it to 3+. The 4, 5, and the 6 have beaten 3+, obviously, and they will inflict 1 hull damage each. The 3+ is a special case. When you exactly equal the firepower required, you apply a damage card. We draw a single card from the damage deck, and we see that in this case, Thuringen has taken some damage to her propulsion systems. This will slow her down until she can make repairs. The final step in the process is to apply any aiming markers that need to be put down. Canada's primary battery has ranged in on Thuringen, so Thuringen needs to have 3 aiming tokens on her. She already had 1, so we apply 2 more. The one last thing we will show you is what to do if the gunnery control order is active. This is fairly straightforward. With gunnery control, when you roll to range in, you have the option to re-roll one of the dice, as seen here. You can do this once for each battery that you fire. And that's it for this video. See you next time.